everyone, and welcome to Club 3, episode 22 of Rolling in the Isles, an FM20 British Isles Journeyman series with me, the United City FM, and welcome to the Premier League with Derby County. We managed to get promotion last season from the Championship, finishing in second place, came up with Southampton, and in the end, I think the other team to come up was Watford through the playoffs. And we find ourselves in the Premier League. Now, if we go and check out the league table, you can see that nobody's played any games yet. If we go and check in with the season preview, the suggestion is that along with a few other clubs, we are really going to be in a lot of difficulty this season. We are predicted to finish bottom, predicted to be relegated, but you can see the odds of us doing that are the same as another 4 clubs. So 5 of us all on the same odds to go down, and only 3 of us go down. So there is a chance that we could finish in that 17th spot and survive the Premier League, potentially. If we could do any better than that, that would be an absolute miracle at this point. I will be happy with 17th and not going back down to the Championship. That's all that I care about in this first season. Having said that, I think we've had a very good summer. If we go and check out the fixtures, you can see that we didn't lose a game in our pre-seasons. Now, none of them are particularly big names to play, absolutely, but they're all positive results to get at the beginning of a season like this. And the other positivity came from the transfer market. You can see that Maxime Collin here is potentially going out on loan. That's because we've got a replacement for him at right back. And if we go and check in with the transfer history, you can see we haven't brought in any money particularly. We've released a couple of players, the likes of Stretton and Walker went out from the club, having run down their contract, and I didn't want to renew it with them, so they've gone. So we haven't really brought in any money, but we had a decent transfer fund and a decent budget in terms of our bank balance. So there's enough to play with, and you can see that in the end we spent 69 million, but I'm very happy with what we've done. So let's look through these 6 individuals. The 7th, Tom Davidson, is just a youngster being brought into our youth ranks, so he's not one for the first team at the moment. So the other 6 all come into our first team squad, and the first one is Manuel Knoll. And we bought him in from Celtic for £20 million, and he is going to be our first choice right side winger. You can see that he's only 18 years old, and for 20 million, I think we've either bought a wonder kid that's going to come and absolutely blossom under our managerial leadership and become a really good world-class young talent, or ultimately he's going to play for us for a couple of seasons, develop very nicely, and we're going to sell him on for a huge fee. Those are the options for this kind of player. But look at these attributes for an 18-year-old on that right-hand side, and he plays on the central midfield line rather than the attacking midfield line, which in our asymmetric formation was what I was looking for. He's got some gaps in his mentals, absolutely, but some key ones are very good. But his physicals and his technicals are both excellent. So that's Manuel Knoll, who comes into play down our right wing. We haven't got rid of the other 2 that play down there. Murphy and McCowan are still both in the first team squad, but we now have more options down that right hand side, and he's going to lead the way. I'm really excited to see what this guy can do. The second player we bought from West Ham for 26.5 million, and this was my key purchase of the summer. It's the one that I went all out to try and get, and this is the replacement for Roberto, who left the club at the end of last season because we only had him on loan from Man City, and we couldn't get him back. We tried, but Man City wanted to give him a chance in the first team, and so that kind of ship sailed, and we had to go and find a new central midfield player who's going to be our kind of creative catalyst. And so we bought in Fausto Vera, 26 years old, Argentinian. As I say, we bought him from West Ham for 26.5 million, I think it was. And I think from the word go that I saw him, this is the guy that I wanted. He cost a bit more than I really wanted to pay. He's on the highest wage, I think, in the club. which is just one of those sort of gambles you have to take at this point going into the Premier League. But I think we've got a very good player here. Some reasonably good physicals, some excellent mentals, but really, really key technicals. Technique, passing, first touch into the mentals. You can see work rate and vision are very good. Positioning is very good. Decisions are decent. So we've got a very, very good player here. He prefers to play the deep-lying playmaker role. We're not going to give that to him, actually. We're going to be playing the Mezzala support role, which is what Claudio Roberto did for us in our setup last season. Another reason why I brought him in, because he could play that role. So we're not going to be playing him in his preferred role necessarily, but I think he's going to come in and do an excellent job for us. If we click onto the Mezzala role, you can see that he's got all the key attributes really to play this role pretty well, and I expect big things for him. We paid a lot of money for him for our club, so let's see whether he can actually make a decent amount of difference for us in the central midfield. Roberto's going to be a big loss, but welcome to Vera, who comes into that role. So that's the second of our 6. The third we bought from Hibs for 12 million as a central defensive option, Ryan Porteous. And you can see that, again, physical's not amazing, but decent, but very good mentals and very key good attributes in the technical area with the heading, marking and tackling. And I think we've got a very decent central defender. Whether he'll cope with the Premier League, we'll have to see that in time, but we're going to be checking that out with all of our players, really, at this point. So Ryan Porteous comes in as that central defensive option. We didn't keep Berkeley, one of the 2 loan players that we had last season, but we did keep Burns, the other loan player in our central defensive options. So we've got Harwood, Bellis, Story, Burns, and now Porteous as our 4 options. So that's good. Tom Davison, as I say, is the youngster going into our youth ranks. And here we go with a recognisable name from last season. And we got him on a free transfer, which was brilliant. Lokudoku's contract ran out at Man City. We had him on loan for the last season. He did reasonably well. Once he got past a bit of an injury knock at the start of the season, he did very well in the second half of the season. And we got him on a free transfer because that contract ran down. A couple of other teams came in for him, but we got a good deal for him. Put him on 65 grand a week through till 2030. We're currently in 2026. And I think that it's a decent deal. Now, what you notice with him is that he does have some big gaps in his attributes, absolutely. But he's got some very key attributes that are very good. So crossing and dribbling and passing and technique are all very good. Flair could possibly be better, but decisions and determination are good. Anticipation is great. Lots of pace, lots of acceleration and agility. So there's a reasonably good left-sided attacking winger in here. And we saw that last season. He did very well for us. And he started very well this season in our non-competitive friendly matches. 4 goals in 5 in those friendly matches and has really hit the ground running. So I hope, again, at 24 years old, he obviously didn't quite make it at Man City, but he's very welcome at Derby County, and I hope that we're going to get some good things out of him, even though there are some glaringly big gaps in his attributes. But Lokudoku is now officially part of Derby County, and that's great. That's a really good signing for us, I think. So Nicholas Audran is the next one. We got him from PSG on loan. And what he comes in for is as our third striking option. He will rotate the striking option with Ida and Clark. And there are a couple of reasons why I bought this guy in and really desperately wanted this guy. 1, he's 18 years old. 2, for 18, he's very good. Finishing at 16, composure at 14, a reasonable pace but not brilliant, but some very good mentals for 18. But the other reason that I bought him into the club is that I'm very hopeful we might sneak him in like we did Lokudoku at the end of his contract. If we go to his contract info, you can see that for Paris Saint-Germain, his contract expires on the same day that his loan deal with me expires. So can we get this guy in on a free transfer? It's going to be tricky because he has got a lot about him, and you'd think that PSG, if they were in any way clued up, they'd tie him down at some point this season. But we're going to give it a good go. We're going to wait and bide our time until the moment is right for us to potentially try and get this guy in as a young, good striking option for hopefully not too much money. But that's for later in the season. We'll have to keep an eye on that. But for now, he will get game time. He will rotate in and around the striking option that we have, along with Ida and Clark, as I say. But he's got enough about him not to worry when he does come into the side that I think he'll be able to do okay for us. So that's Nicholas Aldrin in from PSG on loan. And the last one is Luke Matheson, and he comes in as the right-sided defensive option, fullback, and that's why Maxime Collin is potentially going out on loan. So I've been looking for a younger version of our right-sided options all summer long. It was very hard, actually. There weren't many options out there that didn't cost like 40 million, and we didn't have that sort of money to spend. So it was a bit of a tricky position to fill. And this is the best that we could find in the end. So Maxime Collin moves out of the club and Luke Matheson comes in. We also have Guilbert, of course, who is still going to remain our first choice at the start of the season, but it wouldn't surprise me as he gets a bit older. He's 31, I think, at the moment, but as he gets a little bit older through the season, maybe this guy will come up and take that position away from him as the season progresses. You can see that he's got very, very good physicals, some really good mentals, and a little bit lower in the technicals. If we could up a couple of those technicals, I would be very happy with that. But he is 23, so he's probably not going to improve an awful lot, but he might a little bit. But there's a decent enough right-sided defender fullback in this player, I think. And I think for what we paid for him and where we got him from, ultimately, I think it's a reasonably good buy. We spent 10 million on him from Aston Villa, so those are the 6 that we bought in. There weren't too many going out, as I say. Only a couple of the first team players really went out, and we lost a couple of loan players. So let's go into the tactics page and just check a couple of other things. So Murray remains with us from Man United on loan, as he did last season. We managed to renew his loan, so he will rotate that left-sided attacking wide spot with Lokidoku. So he's in. Aldrin is one that we've spotted. Finley Burns is the other central defensive option that we've got as a 23-year-old English talent. We've got him on loan again from Man City. Some very good position specific attributes, I would suggest. If you look at where these are highlighted, a lot of them are really quite decent. So we've got a reasonably good central defender here, and he was worth keeping on loan, I would suggest, for another season at least, while we try and find potentially a long-term replacement for him that we can actually buy into the club. But he remains with us. Other than that, I don't think there's too much to say, really. Remember the saga of Martinez last season, where he was unhappy immediately having joined us. He went threw his toys out the pram for various reasons, and it took him pretty much the whole of the second half of the season to sulk before he actually decided, once we got promotion, that he did actually want to be here. Surprise, surprise. But once that happened, we saw at the very end of the season, we got a very good performance out of him, and I'm hoping that he'll do the business for us. He may not have the most amount of passing and first touch and dribbling, etc., for that attacking midfield role, but look at the mentals on him. For 21 years old, really good mental attributes, some very good physical attributes for the type of role that we've got him on, and I think those combined with some pretty good technicals, I think we've got a reasonably good player here, and I think we can expect some reasonably good performances out of him. And then just as a last thing to talk to you about, we've got a couple of youngsters in and around the club, like Silas, but we're pinning all our hopes again to see if Ida can score in the Premier League. This is the guy that did it for us eventually last season, scored a reasonable amount of goals and was key for us. Got a lot of good pace about him, finishing and composure is good, determination is good. Some gaps. But can he score in the Premier League, or will someone like Aldrin come in and actually take over that position in the long run? He probably will, given the chance, and especially if we could keep him in the club. You can see that he's got some stuff about him. But for now, it's all about Ida to see whether he can get the goals. So that's the squad. But the setup of our tactic has changed slightly, but not a lot. We're going to stay on the custom wing play. We've moved from positive to balanced just to suppress some of our attacking a little bit, because I think we're going to have to watch that we don't get caught out too much. If we go through the sections of this, we won't talk an awful lot about them. You can check in and see what we've done. Some of it's quite simple, but I think a lot of it makes a lot of sense. As you can see, in possession, it was those options. In transition, we've got counter press and we've got the hold shape options. I am going to distribute down to the wide areas as well to put in with the overlapping fullbacks and the focus down the wings that we've got in the previous section. So that's the in transition. And then out of possession, you can see defensive width is standard. We've got a standard defensive line, but a higher line of engagement. So and a reasonable urgency in the pressing game. It's part of what I want this team to do. And you can see it again in this section, is that we do want to counter press them somewhat. I mean, not overly commit, but a reasonable amount. So that's the setup that we've gone for. There's the formation that we've gone for. You've seen all the new players that we've got in. Got a couple of injuries. Story's out for about 3 or 4 weeks, which is unfortunate at the start of the season. Cooper and Murphy and Silas are all pretty much back from their knocks, really. They'll take another couple of days before they're ready to play, but you can see that their injuries are not too bad, having sustained them over the friendly matches period of time during the pre-season. So those are the injuries that we've got. So what it means for our first game against Leicester City, who last season I think finished in about mid-table-ish in the Premier League. So the first team that we're going to put out against Leicester City for Derby County in the Premier League is going to be Bazunu in goal, Guilbert at right back, Target at left back, Portas and Howard Bellis in central defence, with Joku, Vera and Martinez in central midfield, with Knoll on the right, Lokudoku on the left, and Ida up top, with a bench of Burns, Matheson, May, Crowley, McCowan, Murray and Audrin. So let's get into the first Premier League game of the season and see what happens. So we've just gone with "Come on lads, show me what you can do" before we're going to kick off. Leicester have obviously been under a bit of a reshape in terms of their personnel since the start of the game. We're now in 2026, so lots have changed. But you can see they've got the likes of Anthony Martial and Belotti up front. So there's some quality in their side. So it's going to be a challenging game for us, obviously. But I think the next few games after this, the likes of Watford and a couple of others come up, I think are pretty good as a starting bunch of games. If we can come out of this one having not lost too badly for a start, if we can get anything from the game, then that will be very impressive. I'll be very happy with that. So far, though, Leicester have kept the ball quite nicely in their defensive area, but Lokudoku nicks in and grabs the ball and charges at them into the box, and the curl on the shot was just slightly the wrong way, and it goes slightly wide. But a great interception by him and a really powerful run into the box shows our attacking intent once we get that ball. So that was encouraging. Well done to him. 18 minutes gone, though. You can see that we're doing okay in the sense that we've had a couple of chances and they hadn't really had too many. And then they have a chance off a free kick that goes over the top of the bar. The goalkeeper had it covered, though. So I think we're competing relatively well. We're at home, which helps any time you start a Premier League season for the first time. Always good to play a home match, really. But we've had a reasonable amount of possession. You can see that the Leicester body language of their players seems uninterested a lot of the time in the game currently, which is really positive for us. So I think we can be quite positive at half time and see if we can increase their confidence to go out in the second half and do something. So let's passionately say I'm pleased with how things are going, keep it up. And then as soon as we go out, we're going to encourage them to get creative and just see if we can boost their confidence levels to impact the game more. And you can see it inspired them in terms of their body language for a little while, which is good. And we're in the 62nd minute. And so far, It's a bit quiet as a game. There's not too many highlights, but actually that suits us quite well. A bit of a wayward ball there for us, though, in this particular highlight, and Leicester regained possession and come back down their right-hand side at us. Over the top for Belotti, in on goal and wide, just narrowly wide. And that was a real let-off, wasn't it? But again, the highlight restarts for us down our left-hand side this time into Loku Doku from Ida. Ida picks up the ball again, has a powerful shot on the parry from the goalkeeper and eventually cleared by the defence. And we get a corner kick down that far-hand side on the 67th minute. And it's going to be a good opportunity for Martinez to put the free kick into that far post, partially cleared, and the follow-up shot was straight at the goalkeeper, really. He managed to regain his composure and take the ball quite comfortably. 73 minutes gone. We're going to see what differences we can make off the bench, having had a very, very decent showing in this first game so far. So what are we going to do? We've got a few people in the 70s in terms of conditioning. That's not too bad. I don't really want to change the defensive shape at this point. I think they're doing pretty well. So let's look in this slightly higher up area of the pitch. Vera on a 6.6 will come out, and we're going to put Crowley into that position. Normally he would come in the Martinez role, but we'll put him in that position for now. And then we've got Ida, who's motivated but on a 6 point. We're going to take him off as well and put Audrin on and give him an opportunity to show his worth to us. And then we are going to put Murray on down that left-hand side from Loku Doku. Had that one run in the first half of the match where he really had a decent opportunity, didn't quite take it, but he'll come out, and we've got to protect him slightly. You can remember how much of an injury-prone player he was a little bit for a lot of last season, so we've got to protect him. But we're coming through to the final whistle already. It was very, very empty, that second half, a little bit empty in terms of the highlights. But what a really good, credible first game. A 0-0 draw against Leicester City, who are a very good side and showed it last season, finishing just above middle of the table, I think. But obviously have won the Premier League in fairly recent years. So they're a decent setup, and we've done very, very well. So we're going to tell the players that calmly. I'm happy with what I saw. There are some positives for sure. That's what we'll do. Makes them very happy, which is great. And we'll just come out of there and we'll check in to see that we were basically the first game of this Premier League season. We played Leicester on this first game of the season and nobody else has played yet. So we sit top of the table because of the fact that we're a D and Leicester an L in the alphabet. So let's take a screenshot of that. Let's end the season there. And Derby County finished top of the table, but the rest of the Premier League will have something to say about that, I'm sure. But yeah, really good start. I'm very happy. We hold out for a draw. We make our Premier League debut. There's loads of players in there. Vera, Noel, Portus, Audrin, all making their club debut, which is really positive. And all in all, I don't think we could probably ask for much more. But look at this run of games coming up. It's very decent. Watford, Sheffield United, Brighton, Norwich. There's some good teams for us to play at this point in the season just to get a little bit of a footing into the division. So hopefully we can pick up some points and just begin to solidify ourselves into the Premier League early on, which would be really helpful. But this very early days, lots more to come. I hope you're going to enjoy this season. I don't know what it will bring. It could be a disaster and we could finish bottom, but it didn't seem so today, did it? So we'll take the positives from that and see what comes next. So thanks for joining me for today. Thanks for allowing me to take you through the new members of the team and show you the setup. I hope that you feel connected to them, and I do. I think it's going to be quite an exciting group of players. But until next time, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Click that like button. Help me get seen by lots of other people if you haven't already. But thanks very much for joining me. I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.